I'm Gina Bell, and I am a storyteller. This is Jars of Arioch, Part 2, Chapter 6, Keys. We drove together to the Rommel home. I watched from a park bench across the street. It sat across from Central Park, just like in my vision. It was beautiful. I had no idea what a large home in this area would be valued at. A shit ton, that's for sure. I could see a small window beneath the front stoop. I'm guessing it led to a basement. It looked like someone had put something over the window to cover it. My crow flew around the building and came back to me. I followed as she flew behind the house. I quietly snuck around the back of the building with Hope in tow. There was a van parked in the back. It said Ed's Locksmith and Security on it. I walked to the back of the house and looked down at the fancy deadbolt that was on the door. I used Arioch's key and it popped open. I told Hope to stay and opened the door. The smell of dirty socks hit me in the face. There were old creaky stairs that led down to what looked like someone's bedroom. The walls were covered in bondage-style pornography. As I looked closer, I recognized some of the women in the pictures. He had taken pictures of his victims as he raped and tortured them. For about every 4 feet of wall was a different woman. It started with him taking pictures of them at work or walking around New York. He really did hunt them. This was his art, his masterpiece of pain and torture. In the final pictures of the women he had killed were their funerals and headstones. It was obvious he had attended their funerals. On his desk and next to his computer was his camera. It looked expensive. It had a huge telescopic lens. There was also a cup of coffee, hot coffee. Right beside the coffee mug was a black ball cap. I could hear Benoit's voice coming from above me. She sounded so relaxed. I heard slight chuckles here and there from both Ernie and her. Ernie must have been on his computer when Benoit rang the bell. His most current searches were of Tracy's in New York. It looked like he was trying to find me based on my first name alone. If I had left my information the night I met Ernie, some of this could have been avoided. He would have come straight to me. Ernie had begun trying to find out where I live on the very first night I met him. Dr. Ernie had wanted to see me home that first night and after our date. He wanted to come to my place for a Netflix and chill. All that time I thought I was hunting him, but in reality, he was hunting me. My hand began to warm, and I followed the heat signal to a big white bucket in the corner. It was filled to the brim with keys, all different types of keys. Many were in the shape of little houses, the kind of key you would have made so you could quickly know which key opens your front door. I heard the floorboards above me creaking. I heard the door to the basement open, and then I heard Ernie's voice. I quickly hid under the bed. Just give me a minute. I need to take care of something," I heard Dr. Ernie say to Benoit. "Of course, Doctor. Take your time," Benoit answered back. I heard him come down the stairs, and I listened as 2 people whispered back and forth to each other. The voices were similar, but not completely the same. One was slightly lower, but both were coming from Ernie. He was having a 2-way conversation with himself. "What did you do, Ed?"
"Why, brother, whatever do you mean?"
"The FBI woman is here. She's talking about a murder. Someone named Candy. Tell me that's not the Candy you were dating."
Is it Benoit? She's fucking gorgeous. She would make such a beautiful wall. Let me have her. Try to focus here for a second, Ed. Did you kill the Candy you dated? The Candy that has called you hundreds and hundreds of times? The Candy that will lead the FBI right to my front door! Our. What? What did you say? Our front door, brother. Whatever. I can't save you from this anymore, Ed. I'm going to lose my license just by knowing the things you've done. You've ruined everything. Don't you think it was ruined way before I ever hurt anyone, Ernie? You can't keep living in the past, Ed. It'll never be an excuse for anything you've done. They were monsters, Ern, not us. Well, you've changed all that. Now, haven't you? Now you're just like them. You're worse. I can't buy you out of this. Just let me have her. I'll be lucky if we can get them to keep the death penalty off the table. You need to take all these pictures down, get rid of the computer, everything. I might be able to buy us some time. I'm not getting rid of anything. That thing comes at night. Oh, not this again. Please, Ed. Can you just be sane for a few minutes here?
If only Ernie knew how crazy he sounded.
You need to listen to me, Ed. That thing, it's real. We don't have time for this, Ed. That thing, it's after me. That thing wants to stop me. It's getting closer and closer. Oh, maybe jail can protect me from it. Fuck! There is no giant man with a hat in the corner, Ed. Remember your hallucinations. It's part of your psychosis. Bullshit!
I saw his feet walk to the computer. Are you looking for my Tracy, you son of a bitch?
Your Tracy. That's a laugh. That woman's way too good for you. You should just give her to me. I'll show her what girls are for.
You fucking touch her and I will kill you myself, Ed. I'm serious. Look at my face, Ed. I will kill you.
Calm down, Ern.
My guess is that they will arrest me long before I can rape your Tracy. I knew you would kill Mom, and don't you fucking call her that. That was not our mother. She was old. Why not just let time take her? That would have been way too good for her. She needed to suffer. You should have been there, Ern. You should have seen the look on her face when I carved off her arms. Sounds like Ernie's mother and mine had the same mothering skills. I met that woman you almost killed, Ernie continued. Did you know that? Did you know that I saw her and I read her file? She was a nice person. Why, Ed? Why her? All women are the same. I thought Candy might be different. But she wasn't. She wasn't different at all. And I made her pay. You're insane, Ed.
Gee, you think? Is that your professional opinion, doctor?
Are you okay, Ernie? Benoit asked from outside the door.
I got this one, brother.
I heard the lower voice say as it walked back up the stairs. I rolled out from under the bed and noticed he had taken his black ball cap with him. He was going after Benoit. It was time for this to end. I walked back outside. Hope and Nanny were waiting for me. Come on, Hope. Let's go put this monster down. We walked back to the front, and I knocked on the door. I could see the long hair hanging off my now big breasts. Pretty Tracy was back. I rang the bell. Ed opened the door. The kind eyes I had seen in Ernie, they were gone. These eyes were dilated and ready. He was in pure predator mode. I recognized that instantly. Perfect timing! I was hoping you might show up. Come on in, Tracy. Benoit was behind him and making the universal sign for crazy with her right index finger. I nodded my head to her. You must be Ed. I've heard so much about you from your brother. Really? Good things, I hope. He told me you have some mental issues. He said you can be quite a handful, I said to the crazy man in front of me. More than a handful. I promise you that. Ha ha ha, he said as he chuckled. May I hold your hand? I asked him. You can hold whatever the fuck you want. I reached and held his hand. In an instant, I was in a vision. A different vision. How could this be possible? There was no purple or gold. It was only silver. It was like being inside a drop of mercury. It was thick and heavy. It was hard to move through. I saw a 10-year-old Ernie yelling at his brother. Edward had something in his hands. It was a dead puppy. You killed her, Ed. She was so sweet. You're a fucking monster, and I hate you. If you only knew what I had to do to get her. Ernie walked out of the room and came back in with an already bloody poker from the fireplace in the next room. He began beating his twin brother with the poker and, well, let's just call it overkill. The look on his face was filled with rage, and a minute later, complete surprise, Ernie held his brother and screamed for help at the top of his lungs. I could feel Ernie trying to pull away, so I grabbed on tighter with my right hand, the same hand the angel had touched. Another vision began. This vision was taking place in the same room I had seen the mother in. This was a world of purple and gold. A man with a puppy sat on the floor in front of a huge marble fireplace. I saw a movie reel of a 10-year-old Ernie and Eddie being raped by many, many different men. The reels began when the boys were babies, and I watched as the babies became boys. It stopped at around 10 years of age. One of the rapists I recognized as a politician I had seen on TV. The reels went on until the reel quickly ended with just one man. This man had a puppy in his arms, and he was selling it to a 10-year-old Ernie. The man with the puppy asked Ernie to be quiet and compliant while he did whatever he wanted to him. This was the price for the puppy. If Ernie complied, he would keep the puppy and it would be unharmed. If Ernie didn't do what he said, he would kill the puppy right then and there. I heard the puppy squeal as he twisted her neck, just enough to make it whimper. I felt a jolt go through me. The vision split, half purple and half silver. The silver engulfed the purple as I watched young Ernie pick up a poker from the huge fireplace. His eyes were different now. They were dilated and filled with rage. This was what had triggered the personality split. Ernie's new personality began beating the old pedophile. I watched as he beat the man until his skull split open. He was sweating and his t-shirt was all wet and covered in red spray from blood splatter. The puppy was soaked in the old man's blood. Young Ernie's kind eyes returned. The purple with gold sparks came back, and a gentle, kind 10-year-old Ernie remained. He looked shocked by what he was seeing. He gently picked up the puppy and ran with her to the bathroom. I watched as Ernie gagged and vomited into the toilet. He feverishly washed the blood off of the puppy and cuddled her in a towel lovingly. Oddly, it was the Edward personality that killed the real Edward. It was never shown how or why Edward killed the puppy, but I knew this was the reason. Ernie's Edward personality had killed his own twin. The low sound of Hope's growl woke me from my trance. I looked down at Hope. All the hair on her back was standing, and she was posed to attack. "Shh! Hope!" I said in a whisper. "I got this." I looked into Ernie's eyes, and my taut lip began to quiver. The rush of murder cookies filled my mouth. I knew I was changing back into myself. In an instant, Ernie was back too, and so was the purple and gold. The flavor left my mouth. I took my hand away and looked at Ernie. "Is that how it works?" I asked him. "You're the protector?"
I'm sorry," Ernie said. I need to sit down. What just happened? I remember you from the hospital. Did you just—"
"Transform? Is that the word you're looking for?" "Yes, I did. I am the pretty Tracy you took on a date. And I'm this Tracy also." Ernie chuckled nervously and looked back at Benoit.
"Did you see that?" he asked her. "Oh, yeah. I've seen it before. Weird, right?"
"Ernie, look at me. Where's your brother? Where's Ed?" I asked.
He's downstairs," Ernie answered.
"Really? So if we walk down there right now, your twin brother will be down there?" I saw the expression on his face change. He appeared confused.
"I feel like I'm losing my mind," he said.
Benoit chuckled from the corner with her gun in her hand. I gave her a look.
"What?"
"Ernie, you killed your brother when you were 10.
I would never hurt my brother. If you knew the lengths I've gone to try and keep him safe. I love my brother despite how fucked up he is."
"Tracy, what is it that you are hoping for here?" Benoit asked. "He's telling the truth," I answered. "At least he thinks he is. Let's take a walk downstairs and you can introduce me to Ed." Ernie got upset very quickly.
"Please, don't make me take you down there. My brother, he's crazy, Tracy. He's the one who raped all those women. He's dangerous. There, I said it. I know what will happen to me now. I'll turn us both in. Just please, don't go down there." "Get the fuck up and walk!"
yelled Benoit. I jumped a bit myself. Her cop voice was for real. Benoit handcuffed Ernie, and we all walked downstairs. "Ed, we're coming down. Please be on your best behavior. The FBI is with me. Ed?" We got into the basement, and Ernie looked around for his brother. He must have gone out through the back," Ernie said. Benoit looked at all the women's pictures on the walls. "I didn't do that. Ed did all that. I've never hurt anyone in my life. He couldn't help it. If only you knew what happened to us when we were kids. They broke him, and he never recovered. Our adoptive parents, they allowed all of this to happen to us. I think it's the reason they adopted us." I touched him with my left hand again, and there was the purple. I touched him with my right hand, and there was the dead puppy version. The white angel had given me something. It had given me the why. "You don't remember killing your brother, Ernie, because you must have split into two before you killed him. I think you developed a more violent version of yourself because you needed protection. I saw you kill your brother. I saw the moment the split happened." I left Ernie there shaking his head in disbelief and went to talk with Benoit privately. His personality had split at one point in his abuse. I saw the split myself. I think his adopted mother and mine attended the same school of mothering, if you know what I mean. Hope began her growling again.
"I know you both think I'm crazy, and this probably won't help my case, but
Dr. Ernie was pleading with us. "Do you see that too?" "See what?" Benoit asked. Hope was now lunging on her leash. All the color drained from Benoit's face, and she slowly holstered her weapon and began backing away with her hands in the air. "Tracy?" I felt Arioch before I saw him. I carefully turned to the corner Benoit was backing away from and saw the tilt of his hat. I thought Ed was having one of his hallucinations." Ernie sounded very upset. "He told me there was a man in the corner of his room that was out to get him. I didn't believe him. I don't understand what's happening. This is crazy." I watched as Ernie slid off the chair and knelt to Arioch. He tilted his head back and looked to the sky in the same unnatural way I had seen in all the others. Ernie's body began shaking. He kept mumbling and crying that he had never hurt anyone. I knelt as well. Benoit was the last one to bend to him. I heard a loud crash, and a mason jar slid out of the black to me. I was grateful at that moment to be able to see the pictures on the wall, the pictures reminding me of who we were dealing with. He was a monster. Maybe half of him was good, but the other half was bad enough for me to know Ernie would be a necessary sacrifice. I picked up the jar and looked at Benoit. "You should leave, Benoit." "I'm not leaving you here." "I will be fine." "I can still arrest him. He's sick, Tracy. It's obvious." An angel's voice fills the body with warmth and light. A demon's voice does not. I had never heard Arioch speak until that moment. When he did speak, my body felt like I was being electrocuted. The force of the energy emitted by his voice shook the entire house. I could hear glass breaking outside and inside as well. Car alarms were going off. The power went out. It shook every cell in my body. Arioch yelled only one word, and it was in English. Arioch yelled,
"Enough!"
I could now feel my body beginning to change again. The room was pitch black. I opened the jar shakily, and it began to glow. In the light from the jar, I could see my hands were small and delicate. They had cotton candy pink nail polish. There's only one person I know that wears this shade of pink polish, and that was Candy. I picked up the jar and walked over to Ernie. Though the jar was hot and burning my hands, I walked with it to Ernie and stood over him. I held the jar to my face with both hands so he could see who I was. He was crying, and he looked terrified. The second he saw me, I saw the flip in his eyes. "Hey there, little man," I said to the Edward personality.
"You fucking cunt! I thought I killed you!"
"I love that this will be the last face you see, motherfucker. I will seal your soul in a jar and protect my world from you. I am your rapture. I am your judge and your jury. Allow me to introduce you to your executioner." I opened the jar and blew into it as I stared into his eyes. I sealed it and set it on the ground quickly. My left hand hurt like hell, but the right seemed completely unaffected. Another reward from the angel? I don't know. I could feel the vibration of Arioch as he began walking towards us. The glow from his blue eyes was the only thing I could see. I watched his face come into view as he raised the glowing jar and unscrewed the lid. His eyes glared down at me the whole time. The light from the jar and the blue from his eyes disappeared. The sound of thousands of wings filled the room and then trailed off, getting less and less. until it was completely gone. The next sound I heard was an odd one. It reminded me of an anchor as it's being dropped into the sea. A loud, fast sort of whooshing, and then a quick crack. I could hear the subtle sound of someone choking for a few seconds and then complete quiet. I could feel movement in front of my face in the dark. "Benoit, are you okay?" I whispered into the silence. "Yeah, you?" The light from her flashlight came on, and there were feet dangling and twitching in front of my face. It was Ernie, and he was hanging from a rafter above. His face was purple, and his eyes were bulging out of his head. He was dead. My left hand was throbbing. I needed something cold. I put my two hands together, and surprisingly, the burn, it stopped hurting completely. "Do you need a Coke to hang on to, Trace? Can I get you something cold?" Benoit ran to me and hugged me tightly. "You're right. Arioch is absolutely terrifying. I've never felt fear like that." I call it a humbling fear. It never gets any easier. At least not for me. "How's your hand, baby?" Benoit asked while pointing the flashlight on my hands. Oddly, it's fine. It hurt like hell, but when I put them together, both my hands together, the pain stopped. I have noticed a different type of branding on my left hand. That's where the other thing touched it. It's not a letter. It's a key. It looks like someone branded me with a tiny key. I have no idea what this means. The burn on my thumb from Candy's keys looked exactly like the one that spelled out Ernest Rommel. "Well, I'm sure you'll find out what that key does eventually. I'm gonna go call this in now. It's gonna take 2 weeks to go through all this evidence. We also need to make sure there aren't any other women out there duct taping their apartments." "There are no more." "How do you know?" "Same way I know everything I know. I feel it. It's over. I know you'll still look as you should. I'm going to take my girls home and go to bed. I'm completely drained. Let me know when you're on your way and I'll call Bring It for dinner." I got myself an Uber and flopped into the back seat. Hope fell asleep on my lap almost instantly. She usually does after such an encounter. In the quiet of the car ride, I closed my eyes. I covered my eyelids with the inside of my hat and felt my own body. I opened my eyes and all I could see was the inside of my hat. I could hear Hope snoring. I sat up and looked around just as we pulled up to my place. "Man, dude, you were really out," the Uber driver said. "You have no idea the week we've had. Thank you," I said as I got out of the car. I dragged my sore and exhausted body back home. I heard a tapping on the cardboard over my window as I walked in. I pulled the cardboard down and let Nanny in. I reached for her and she perched on my arm. I wrapped my hand around her shiny black feathers and held her. I had a perch and some other stuff I got from Amazon for her. She seemed as exhausted as I was. I poured myself some scotch and packed a bowl. I sat on my couch and told Travis everything. Hope was in bed already and let out an occasional whine. She wanted me to go to bed with her. I took a long, hot bubble bath and sipped good scotch. I touched my forefinger on my left hand to my thumb and put the Rommel symbols together. I felt a rush, like my soul had been ripped from my body. I flew through a portal. After a few seconds, I was back in Arioch's world. I could see crows pecking away at the black mummy on the slab. This time I knew who it was in there. I could see Ernie's body jolting as he suffocated. The birds came through and began their pecking. I watched the bird fly to me and light on my arm. This time the bird put the piece of flesh into my mouth with its beak. I've never taken hard drugs. Travis and I tried magic mushrooms once as teenagers. This was so much more than that. This was like being transported to a universe where you are the universe. And his flavor was not only flavor, but the love that will now be, because we brought him here, because Arioch and I took his life before he could hurt anyone else. We have changed everything. We have saved souls that will never know us from horrific deaths. What I was feeling was the sensation of all the warmth and love that will now be because of us. It was a high unlike anything I've ever felt. I found myself again hovering over a black mummy, his eyes terrified as I breathed in his fear and absorbed his flavor. This was better than sex. Eventually my body floated away, and I was alone and curled in a ball, enveloped in complete rapture. I felt my tired body healing and rejuvenating itself. I felt like I had been there swirling in the high of my kill for days, maybe weeks. I had no idea. When I awoke, I was in bed.
Are you awake?
Benoit whispered slowly. I was naked, damp, and cold. Yes, and I feel fantastic. How long have I been asleep?
I have no idea. I just got here.
I put my thumb with the print from Rommel and the matching one on my forefinger together, and I was instantly in his world. There's something about being over there that is cleansing and healing, rejuvenating even. I don't need sleep. The high that comes with it, it's on another level. I can't describe the way it feels. It's like sex and God put together. This last time, it was like I was within all the life and love that will happen because crazy Ernie Edward isn't alive to hurt anyone else. If I could bottle that high, I would be a millionaire.
Well, baby, you may already be one.
What do you mean?
I mean, there is a big, and I mean big, bag of money in the next room. I couldn't lift it.
Oh, payment for Ernie. Holy shit. How much is there?
I don't know, but what I looked at was all hundreds, and there's a huge duffel bag of it.
Let's start counting and see what we're working with. Do you need any?
Are you asking me if I need any money, Tracy?
Yes, we did this together.
All I want from you is for you to meet with my mother. She's been begging me for months now. I know you're planning a trip to Gatlinburg soon. Could we maybe make it a road trip? Stop and see Mom first? You should experience New Orleans anyway. Tracy, you of all people need to spend some time in my city.
Well, now that this is over, I can do whatever. I have this feeling. It's time to leave New York.
Really? But you love New York.
Thing is, it's not really New York with COVID and all. I don't have orders yet. Arioch told me to go to New York, and I did. Ernie was my mission. I stopped those boys from killing 12 or so toddlers, and I stopped Ernie. My job here is done. I feel it. It's time for me to move on, but I have no idea where to move on to.
New Orleans it is, then.
Sure, New Orleans it is. And then Gatlinburg. Hopefully, Arioch will let me know where next. I plan on spending a couple months in Gatlinburg. It feels like home now. Los Angeles is 1,000,000 miles away from me. I can't imagine going back there now. Everything would remind me of Travis, and there's the fact that my mother's there. That's a whole different shit show. I miss Raven and her flock. Plus, Raven wants to mate Hope, and this new boy dog she has, That's a 60-day commitment. She insists on being there for the births. Oh, one more thing. Happy birthday. Benoit pulled out a bag with balloons all over it. Inside were a bunch of wrapped packages. Oh, I had no idea it was my birthday. Shit. I guess I forgot about Christmas completely. My grandfather used to tell me and Travis that the whole world celebrated our birthday. He'd put the TV on and we'd see all the fireworks and celebration for New Year's. I believed it for a little while. I liked to think they didn't know what was happening to us. My grandma always told me she wished she could be younger for me, that she would take me and Travis far away if she was young and healthy. She must have had a good reason to say that. She had to know something. I don't understand why no one stepped in to save us. I needed someone like Arioch. I needed him a long time ago. Well, you needed someone like you, Tracy. Now open your presents. Now, being a twin, I had to share everything. Oftentimes, we got two of the same things so we wouldn't fight over them. I got gifts from my abusers, too, but never had anyone bought such nice things for just me. She got me 2 GPS trackers for Nanny and Hope. A beautiful golden compact with a mirror to put into my jacket so I could always take a quick look to see whose skin I was in. Several cold packs from my burns, burn cream, a keychain with a picture of Crow, Nanny, and Hope to attach to Arioch's key, 2 fancy FBI-style trap cameras, a laminated card with the Enochian alphabet on it about the size of a credit card. As I opened each one, I could see the look of joy on Benoit's face. She really liked making people happy. You know me so well. Thank you, Zydeco. I fought back the frog in my throat, and just as we were hugging, there was a loud bang on the door. We both jumped and looked at each other questionably. Did you order food? I asked. Hope got up barking and ran to the door. They're closed. It's New Year's. I walked to the door slowly. I looked through the peephole and couldn't see anyone. I opened the door slowly, and there was a new mason jar glowing in the hallway. I reached for the oven mitt I kept by the door and brought it inside. Is that a birthday gift? Benoit asked. No. That would be weird. Arioch doesn't strike me as the sentimental type. I opened the jar and the glow faded. I poured the contents out on the kitchen table, much to Nanny's chagrin. She hopped and squawked at all the commotion. There was an ad for a large property in Gatesville, Texas. It had a block wall around the entire home. There was a pool and a beautiful Spanish-style home. It looked peaceful. There were also 6 pieces of silver. They looked similar to coins and about the size of a $50. They had Arioch's summoning circle embossed on one side. The other side had 2 eyes and a word in Enochian. I grabbed Benoit's cheat sheet and translated the word. It read, follow, in Enochian. 3 of the coins had very odd edges. Each one had a unique design, like petals on a daisy. Each one of the 3 looked almost like puzzle pieces. The other 3 had a smooth edge, like a regular coin. I held one of the smooth coins and saw the ceiling. I opened my eyes in shock. Holy crap! What is it? Benoit asked abruptly. Take this. I handed her one of the odd-shaped coins. Go into the bathroom, hold up something or do something that I wouldn't expect. I want to test something. Benoit went into the bathroom and closed the door. I held one of the smooth coins and closed my eyes. Everything was black. Flip it over! I yelled to her, and suddenly I could see Benoit in the bathroom sticking her tongue out at me. You're sticking out your tongue! Well, holy shit! I heard her yell as she came back in, flying out of the bathroom. We tested out each coin and they all worked for me the same exact way. When Benoit held them, she didn't see anything.
What do you suppose they are for, Tracy?
I have a feeling these are going to be for something very specific. I have no idea what, but at least I know where I'm going. Texas, here we come. Have you ever heard of Gatesville?
Only because there's a huge prison there, and because it's close to Waco. Remember the Branch Davidians? The Davidians lived out there in a compound because they wanted to be left alone. Other than that, not much there at all. Prisons and the people who work for the prison. That's about it.
This place looks peaceful and remote. How am I expected to hunt there? I don't know why I bother and try and think ahead at all. I know there's a reason he wants me there. I like the thought of living out in the middle of nowhere for a while. Just me and Hope. Nanny can soar. In the next few weeks, I packed up the things that meant something to me. Travis, my laptop, and some clothes. Hope's bowls and Nanny's perch. I painted the whole apartment 3 times in white and then put all the rest in storage. I bought a Tesla, the same steel blue color as Hope, and we all headed to New Orleans.